Welcome, everyone, to episode 4 of Molding You, a podcast I put together about motivation, mentorship, and manifestation, how pursuing your passion can fulfill your dreams. And I'm honored to be joined by Susan Russell and Stephen Antommarchi. And I'd like you guys, if you could, to introduce yourself, and then we'll talk about your stories.
Good to be here. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, super happy to be here. You want to start, Susan?
I guess I'll start. My name is Susan Russell. I have a company called Mold Dog Knows, as in the dog understands, and it's because the nose knows. But certainly not a business I set out to, that I ever would have pursued with intention, but I guess I did because there's some underlying stuff going on there. But so we have canines that detect hidden toxic mold that make people sick. So the connection for me is many, many years ago, I got very sick with mold. I really didn't know it. I worked in the news industry. I had taken a big job coming from California to Southern Florida. And instantly when I got there, I was very, very sick with head pressure, headaches, and it was really crushing. That was my big break job. Could have launched me, and I guess God had other plans. So, and I didn't realize that until recently that was mold, until approximately 5 years ago when I got sick again with mold. Mm-hmm. And then I started putting 2 and 2 together. But that, just in a nutshell, is how the business was launched. And then I'll let Steve tell a little bit about who he is and how he came to be part of our company.
Yeah, and how we got together, which is its own story, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Totally a God thing.
Yeah.
But like you said, my name is Steve. I'm the VP or Canine Operations for Mold Dog Knows. My background is in law enforcement, training and certifying dogs all over the world. I've been able to be blessed to travel to Africa and different places in my journey to train dogs. And somehow, some way, Susan and I meet, and I'm introduced to a whole industry of mold detection that I didn't know existed, but was up for the task to not only learn about mold, but utilize all the skills that I've obtained over the last 16 years to really set the standard. And I think we're doing that for Mold Dog Knows and making sure that we are the company that everybody can look at as the one raising the bar.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome. And I think it's interesting how, I'm the same way with mold. I never thought it would become my passion. And I think it became both of your guys' passion. So I started off as kind of like your basic mold testing guy. Mm-hmm. They call them pump jockeys, like the guys with the air pumps who just do the air testing and tell you that there's no problem, when in reality, that's not how it works. So I kind of transitioned into moisture and mold assessment and the building science. And I started to learn how to help people heal. And then we learn about the mold dogs, which people don't understand, for the new listeners, that these dogs are literally smelling out mold. And it's like, where would we be without military dogs, canine dogs, dogs in the airports keeping us safe? Now we're in this new generation of needing a dog. Like, I think it's a part of a complete mold assessment. Like, no matter how good the mold assessor is, like, even if I claim to be the best, most perfect one, which I don't, but you need a mold dog to complete the assessment of your home, which it'd be cool if there's dogs doing radon and all these other things. I'm sure you probably would know better. But dogs that sniff out mold are so important. And I know you guys, like, we met on social media and you guys went super viral. Yeah. Can you talk about how that came to be? Like, you just started posting online and there was 40 million views on one video?
Yeah, it was about 40 million. We had just launched back in December of 2023, and the company, we had one dog, one canine handler. And I will say, I stumbled into hiring somebody with experience with canine. My husband, who is a functional medicine doctor, thought it would be nice to just run a dog on the side and get away from patients. And halfway through that, when our dog Zia was in training, I'm like, honey, you don't have time. I mean, look at your schedule. You have people on, the wait list. Just let me find somebody and hire someone. So I put the word out, and one person that had applied was a former canine handler. And that, I thought, that makes sense. I didn't know anything about canine. I've always, I've seen you guys in the airports, and you see them, military or cadaver searching after storms. But I had no experience, no knowledge about dogs. And we had been told that, you can bring a dog, get a dog trained. We'll train it for 3 months, which, by the way, is way too long. You don't need that. And then that we could go in and learn how to run a dog, handle a dog. That's so far from the truth. I have ventured into this whole canine world. So I like to say, and I think it's true, we have a canine detection business, and we're focused on mold.
Right.
We're not a mold company. I mean, we are operating in the mold industry, and the mold industry does try to regulate us, but we are a canine detection business. Our dogs are imprinted on mold. And I'll let Steve talk more about that. It's kind of a mentorship with the dogs. I mean, he has a ton of experience, and I've never really had a big business. I did help build the practice, but where this is going is so much bigger. But I knew enough to know that what I see with our business and where I want it to go and grow to help people, we're going to need someone that understands canine. So enter Steve, and I thought it was just a perfect match.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, because when it first came up, mold detection, the first question I asked myself is, why haven't I even heard of this? Yeah. Because by that time, you got to understand, we had trained dogs to obviously sniff out explosives, narcotics, find human remains, find live people, COVID detection dogs, right? Because that was big during that time. But it never dawned on me mold, because I'm just not in that industry. Now looking back, I'm pretty sure we'd had exposure as a family, and since you have the chance to kind of look at everything, you look at it with the 20/20 vision, and we absolutely had mold exposure in our apartment at one point, and all the things that I'm learning that mold sensitive people will have to face when they're in a room full of mold for maybe years, is definitely things my wife was facing. So anyway, we took an opportunity to not only understand the industry, because you have to understand the substance in which you're trying to find. I'm a true believer of that. So I'm not a mold expert by any means, but I know how to train a dog to sniff out odors, right? So the first question I had to ask myself is, what kind of science is behind there? Like, what kind of proven science exists? And there wasn't a lot. Spoiler alert, we definitely were behind the ball as an industry to kind of figure out what to do there. But Mold Dog Knows, with Susan's support, allowed me to kind of venture off and do these studies to see what we can do to bring the industry standard to mold. And you and I talked about it a little bit, but one of those things that we're passionate about is setting a certification standard. And why is that important? Because how do we know that the dogs are actually doing their job, that they're responding to toxic mold? Well, before that, you're just taking the word for it from the people who are running these dogs. And some are probably really good, and some of them are just looking for an opportunity to make money. Like any industry, you're always going to have that. So I was a part, and still am, a part of the American Working Dog Association as their law enforcement secretary. So basically, I just went to the board and proposed a question. Are we willing to take on a mold certification? And if so, how fast can we get this going? Because there is a need in the industry for this. Essentially, regulation for canine detection dogs in the mold space. So immediately was met with, oh, absolutely, we need to do this. And then looked at some of the studies that were done. There was really just one. So I pulled from that study all the information that I could and said, okay, for a certification, what should it look like? And we helped kind of shape that first certification in history, which is really nice to say. And then we became the first company to have all of our dogs certified through American Working Dog Association. So in order to meet that standard, it's not easy. And there are dogs that have attempted to get an American Working Dog Association certification and failed. And that's good. That's a sign of a good certification. Just like the bar, not everyone's going to pass. These are tests that are not designed to be easy. It's really designed for you to understand, a plethora of different things. And the dogs have a tall task, but we know they can do it. They just need the right training. They need the right handler, which is a big part of that. And then, of course, the icing on the cake is getting that certification to ensure that you're getting a quality team.
And that's to help the consumer, to give them something to leverage, and ask. I mean, they really don't have. Let me back up here. Most people have never heard of a mold dog because it is relatively new. Very new in the United States. I think it dates back to like the mid 90s in Europe. But people don't really know the questions to ask. They just think a mold dog, okay, what's the price? And are you professional? The handlers say, yes, I'm professional, and the dog's certified. What does that mean? You need to unpack that, and you need something of substance to be able to ask the right questions. So we started with that with the American Working Dog Association certification. That's something that they can hold on to and ask that question. So
yeah, and I think that third-party certification is so important. Like you said, I think these other dog companies are literally certifying themselves, or it's similar to the mold industry. I am an attorney now, like mold lawyer. That's my tag on social media. But I've been a mold assessor for 5 years. And a lot of people don't even know that part. They don't even know what a third-party mold assessor is. What that means is that a remediation company can't just come in and start calling the shots and say, here's what we need to do. Here's your bill. By the way, you're in extreme danger. If you don't pay us, you're screwed. So the third-party mold assessor, our job is to come in and say, here's a non-biased protocol with no conflict. Florida is one of the states that requires it by law. Mold assessor license. You want a third party to come in, do that assessment before you get this big remediation bill. And I think the mold dog should be a part of that. But it's super cool how there's now real certifications. Have you heard about are dogs sniffing out radon or things like that? Or I know that's a little more.
I'm not familiar with it, to be quite frank, but it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we have cancer detection dogs that can sniff out that. We're developing a program now where we're finding dogs can potentially sniff out the oxygenated bridges where they're starting to have defaults, faults in their structure integrity. So now, in New York City, you have all these old bridges that they have to kind of figure out what needs to be addressed there. So if they're able to figure out oxygenation on steel, they could really do anything. And so we talk about it all the time, how amazing their noses are, and we're just scratching the surface. If they could talk to us, we'd be doing amazing things with dogs. But we could only verify certain things, and the dogs can't talk to us. So a lot of the research we do is just seeing, and by the way, dogs are all different too, right? So you can have 10 dogs in a room, train them the same way, and get 10 different results. So my analogy I use is they're athletes, and not two athletes are the same. They may be both basketball players, but one is a power forward, one is a guard. Their skill sets are different, but they're amazing at what they do. They're still professional basketball players. We have detection dogs that are really good at finding explosives, and there are certain things that we like about them that make them explosive detection dogs. Narcotics dogs, there are certain things that we like to see in our narcotics dogs, almost very different than the explosive detection. They're still professional athletes. For mold, it's somewhere in between. They're closer to explosive detection dogs because you want them to be calm. You don't want them to be scratching. You don't want them to do any of that. But there are characteristics that we're absolutely kind of recognizing that we want in the industry, and it's still new. So we're figuring it out as we go on. This is actually the perfect mold dog, and this is why.
Yeah, I just heard a story in the car about a mold dog that came into someone's house, and it was messing up the carpets, scratching up all the expensive furniture.
Talking about that, yeah.
And obviously the training is so important, but we like to talk motivation here. And so how do you motivate these dogs to, because I know we talked about you could have a bucket of fried chicken here, but the dog is going to go where it's trained to go. But how do you train these dogs so well to the point you're at?
Yeah, it's interesting you use the word motivate because it's a form of motivation. Yeah. So the reason why dogs are considered man's best friend is something that we refer to as pack instinct. It's their ability to recognize us as family. So a lot of people think, hey, Steve, you have that toy or whatever. That's the reason why the dog works so hard. That's only part of the reason. The true reason that dogs really want to work is the mixture of the toy reinforcer, right, and the relationship that that dog has with its handler. Like, I have a daughter, right? And when I'm upset at her and I say I'm disappointed, she breaks down. That's too much for her, right?
Oh.
When I tell her I'm super proud, this glee of just in her face and big smile. It's the same thing with my dogs. And I hate to make that correlation with my daughter and dogs, but the truth is it's family.
Yeah.
And when my dog knows he's done a good job and I tell him, hey, you're amazing. Not only are you handsome, because you're super handsome, but you did a really good job. He feels that energy. And now there's this synergy between what we're trying to do. We have a mission. You have your job. I have my job. And when we do it together, it's a really beautiful thing to see. And you feel it. If you ever seen a dog work, it's a special thing. And you can't quite put your finger on it, but you know you're seeing something really magical.
And he's pointing out just that relationship thing too. I learned in the beginning, because I'm entering into this canine world, not really knowing, just wanting to help people. And there is, not every person, you can have a great dog, and if you put it with the wrong handler, it's not going to work. And we experienced that. So this is where Steve comes in, and finding the right canine team, the handler with the right dog. That's where we're going to have a win-win. That's so important. And learning that you can't just take any dog and make it work. People ask that. We get emails all the time from people like, I have a dog and I would love to, get them doing mold. How can I do it? I send them to you. Or I try to talk them out of it. I tell them really, I was where you were several years ago, not really understanding, but a lot goes into it, and I'll give them a little bit of insight about what it takes, and the commitment, and the daily training, and the relationship, that it's not just a little game. It's very interesting to hear what Steve says, that he didn't even call himself a professional until about 8 years in. So it really bothers me in the industry to hear people calling themselves professionals when I know they have a week of training. And you know what? I will say most of them are in it for the right reason. They want to help people. They've been sick like I was. Same reason we went into the business. We want to help people. And we see the dog as a phenomenal tool. Personally, for us, we had lived in mold twice and had inspectors come and tell us our house was fine. They did the air sample, the far infrared, the moisture meter, and told me the house was fine, and I knew it wasn't. And it was actually a patient of my husband's that he kept sending her back and said, you've got to go back. I know these same 2 inspectors said your house is fine and her whole family's sick. And he said, no, your house is not fine. You've got to keep going back. And it was her girlfriend who heard about a mold dog that was coming through town. And the dog went in there and found it. And I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. That is brilliant. It makes sense. And most people, when you tell them, or they ask what I do, or what's your business, I say canine mold detection business. And it's a what? Mm-hmm. And I say canine mold detection business. And they kind of look puzzled. And I say, it's no different than narcotics or explosives. And then they light up and go, that is so cool. So that's where the connection comes in, the training. And Steve, again, is the expert here, but what I'm learning is the training's exactly the same. The training's the same, you just imprint them on what you want them to find.
Yeah. And going back to your motivation and mentorship, right? Because that's your focus.
Yeah.
So we're motivating the dog to work, but now we're really starting that healing journey for that family. And there's a mentorship part of that, right? Because they're now leaning on your expertise for a lot of things. Now often we're finding success in the field, and now that relationship is building with our client, and they know they can trust you. Like, you've given us some direction. Can you please continue with that? Mm-hmm. And now it's our network of people, guys like yourself, that we can lean on and say, hey, look, this is what's happening. We need to just get around this family and do the best we can to assist them in their situation. Because a lot of time it's just little kids that are mold sick and sensitive, and you have all these little things that are happening that sometimes are unexplainable, or once were unexplainable, but now they're getting answers, and you can see them light up. Like, finally they know they're not crazy, because you hear that a lot too. So I'm sure you can speak to that.
Yeah, the mold space is so relevant right now. And it's such an interesting space. Like, I'm sure you're starting to, I could tell you're getting passionate about it already, even though you never had that crazy mold exposure moment, which most people in the industry like Susan had, where you got really sick.
Yep.
Next thing you know, you're running the biggest mold dog company in the country, which I do want to talk about, you know, how we end up in unexpected places. But I see so much in my work. Like, it's crazy because these people trusted their doctors. 5 different doctors, 10 different doctors. Like, they trusted them. Like, your doctor tells you something, you're going to do it. Unless it's like eat healthy, work out. You're probably not going to do that. But most people are trusting their doctors, and it's getting to the point, like, these are oncologists. Like, these are, you know, there's autism discussions, there's cancer discussions, there's mortality, and people go to 5 doctors, they have no idea what's going on. And then someone comes in and starts telling them, well, first of all, your air is not clean. Second of all, your surfaces aren't clean. Third of all, your house is literally coming to life with mold. There's things growing everywhere. Even without the mycotoxin discussion, your home should not be coming to life. And then that's why it's been so rewarding. That's why, you know, I never thought I would be in mold at all. I was always into environmental science, policy, and law. Like, I wanted to be an environmental lawyer. But I was like, how am I supposed to stop climate change or like sue ExxonMobil? Like, these things are scary and daunting, and I'm sure you could. But once I learned about the indoor environment and indoor environmental law, like, there's people that are getting horribly sick. They have rights. There's people that are responsible a lot of the time, but they have no one to go to, and they have to trust now the mold testing guy with their life and the mold dog company. But it's really interesting. And, you know, like I said, I never thought I'd be in mold. You never thought you'd be in mold, but a lot of the people, they got really sick, and now we're seeing it with celebrities. Chris Williamson, the Petersons, both Michaela and Jordan. And like, every day I see a different celebrity. It was, and I talked on another episode, Brittany Murphy and Britney Spears lived in the same house. And that didn't end up that well for them.
The second Brittany and her husband.
Well, one of them was shaving her head at one point. Britney
Spears.
Spears.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
you got to wonder. And like, mold, for so long, we've all been like getting sick, and nobody really, oh, these headaches are normal. Like, I've always had fatigue.
Well,
and
that
like,
was me.
30
something years ago.
And now we're starting to put the pieces together. Like, I got an autoimmune diagnosis when I was 12. And like, it seems like everyone now has something. But the reality is that every building has mold too. So now it's like starting to put the pieces together. Like, the air is not really clean. That's even something we talked about with air pollution, like climate change, greenhouse gas. Like, this stuff leads to asthma. And now there's inhalational Alzheimer's. Type 3 Alzheimer's is inhalational Alzheimer's. And there's so much that's coming to light now with the mold that's crazy. But I like to talk a little bit about how none of us expected to be in mold. And we didn't know what, I mean, for myself, I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Like, I don't know. But I think when you really follow your passion, and for me, that was helping people, you really, it finds you. And for me, the mold industry really found me, and I'm like, we can help. This can probably help more people than climate change, because everybody's in their house. Not everybody is in a flood zone when sea level rises, but everybody is inside their house. And the way we build these houses is just, everybody's getting sick. And the doctors are like, there's nothing we can do. There's no cure. There's medicine, which will probably hurt you. So it's so interesting.
Do you think the industry has just been kind of quiet about it? Or do you think the science is just catching up and we're starting to find out how dangerous mold is? Or do you think it's a combination of the two?
I feel we've known for a while, but now we're seeing like the NIH and like the government start releasing like medical documents, and it's serious stuff. Like, it's neurological. And we see people hallucinating. We see people not remembering. I mean, you should see, I mean, with social media, I've spoken to thousands of people with mold, and they literally tell me like, I was seeing things. My kids were having night terrors. So there's neurological, but now they're linking it very heavily to autoimmune. And it's like, so many people, everyone has an autoimmune. I mean, that's what I feel like I see. And it's so much. And even they told me, or they told my family that's had issues, like, this could be environmental. But people just brush that off like, what does that mean? It could be environmental. Like, climate change is causing this. But what about our indoor environment? I think it's coming to light more now. And every celebrity, it seems like literally every celebrity. And I always say the bigger your house is, the more likely you are to have some kind of issue. It doesn't have to be mold. It could be bacteria, stuff like that. But we see it just as much in a smaller apartment as, you know, because a small apartment is usually in a big building. And, you know, we see it in the hospitals. We see it in, I'm sure it's in Congress building, White House.
Casinos. I got back from Vegas where I did a talk there, and it was painfully obvious that that casinos are battling mold all the time, right? They have kitchens, they have outdoor areas. In Nevada where we were, it rains quite often, and when that happens, humidity hits just right. You have the perfect opportunity for mold to grow. And, you know, so we had conversations. Do you want your customer base to have headaches, to feel fatigued and not feel well?
It's not like get out of bed.
Probably not. They're going to be stuck in their hotel room, not going to be enjoying themselves. They're not going to be able to do. So it is a health risk. And I think the faster we look at that and we recognize that we are helping people and potentially saving people, like, this is what we're in the industry to do. I didn't, you know, go to the police academy to make $1 million. I promise you. It was to serve others, and I'm finding myself serving others in a different way now.
Yeah,
but it's still just as fulfilling.
Yeah, and it's, you know, I like to talk the entrepreneurial side and kind of manifestation, and like, there's so many mold dog companies. We'll just be frank.
And there weren't when I started.
Yeah,
it came out really fast. I'd say when we started and came out in Texas, we were told at the same place that we had our first dog trained that we were going to be the first, and we are needed in Texas. And within a week, there was another one, coming out of the same academy, and then like 3 weeks later, another one. Now there's probably 15 to 20.
A lot.
There's
Just in Texas?
Just in Texas, yeah.
Yeah,
Which,
probably for Florida, there's probably 1,000.
I don't know about that.
A lot. I mean, they're popping up every day. Maybe, okay, not 1,000, but I mean, everyone with a dog, it almost seems like they think they're. But how did you become Mold Dog Knows? I mean, you guys really pushed. I know social media had a lot to do with it. But
how did we become Mold Dog Knows?
I mean, how did you kind of manifest it into becoming like the biggest and the best? I mean, I know you had bumps in the road, and you've had health issues. And how did you kind of? I mean, you're the spearhead.
That's a loaded question. I did not set out to do this. Literally, it was, let's have a dog in our practice to help our patients. This is cool. And we'll have a dog to help us. And that just really took off. And by November is when we went viral. So yeah, we woke up one morning to just hundreds of requests. And I mean, from social media doesn't necessarily bring in, a lot of those were just tire kickers, like, that's cool, boom. And it was overwhelming, and we were not prepared. The unfortunate side of that was it buried the people that really needed help. Like, we couldn't get to the ones that the doctors, you know, said, call, you know, find a mold dog or call Mold Dog Knows. So that was a surprise. I'm a faith person. I believe God's hands are all over this. There have been many nights, and yeah, I'm going through my own journey of working to get the mold out of my body. I have some genetic predispositions to not detox well, so it makes it more challenging. And there have been some other resulting factors that who would have known? Who would have thought that could be related to mold? But since this is not a health show, I'm not going to go into all of that. But yeah, we were starting it. It was not really an intention. So it was just this year, the beginning of this year, we broke this off as a separate entity. And that was about the time we brought Steve in. So I don't know where this is going. My vision is that we would have a dog in every state. It's challenging as a business owner. Like, because we get a call in, say, right now in California, and we don't have anyone in California. So we do have to charge for travel, the handler's time, the cost for airfare usually, although we do have Nevada now where she can get to California easier. But just, New Jersey, that's a hot place. Get a lot of calls from New Jersey. Tennessee, we have a handler now in Tennessee. So we started with one. We now have 10 teams in about 7 states, and we're stabilizing. That takes a lot of systems and processes, logistics, and it's
trust.
Yeah, a lot of it's a lot, and it's a lot more than I ever thought I could handle. I think I'm being forced to learn how to be a leader.
Yeah,
and this is about, your show's about mentoring and leadership, and this guy's like the ultimate leader. How he handles, he's over the canine, because there is it's like I don't say a good boys club, but what are you guys? It's a
training group. It's a
group.
Yeah.
It's a group of people, and there's kind of we've gone through some growing pains of leadership, management, and canine. Mm-hmm. And we're working right now to let's bridge that gap. We're going to start bringing the canine handlers in on our leadership meetings. And he's always, working with me gently to get me to move a little bit about, listening and getting feedback. And so he's all about culture. And I saw that in Steve very, very quickly. Just how he talks to people, how he leads people is really a huge asset to our team.
I think that's what makes us unique, is we have come from different places.
Very.
So it's the yin and yang, right? So I understand the canine portion of it and leading people.
Yeah.
And Susan understands the importance of making this right and making it work, because her herself has had so much issues. She knows what's on the line when it comes to this. And so when she sees a customer, she sees herself. And so she wants to get better. She wants that customer to get better. And there's a lot that goes into a business, right? The finances, insurance, you
attorneys,
you name it.
Accountants.
There's
social media.
Yeah, it's not just rainbows and unicorns all the time. No. But what's important is that we both have the same mission to serve others. And as long as that's the focus, we're always going to come up with a solution that fits what we feel comfortable and led to do. We talked a little bit about our faith, but we share the same values in that regard. We know that this is a calling. Absolutely. This did not happen by accident. Yeah. But that's our motivator too. If we know that we're on a journey together here, then we're going to do that no matter what mountain is in front of us. We're going to climb it together. We're going to keep our focus on what's the most important thing to us, which is to serve others, and we're going to work it out.
Yeah, I'm going to be completely transparent here. There have been several times that I want to give up. I'm done. This is really hard with what I'm going through. I think on the flip side, though, that not only my faith, but seeing myself well, seeing myself healthy, but continuing to work in a challenging business, trying to figure things out and put pieces together and overcome is really good for the body and the brain, instead of just laying in bed and being sick and wallowing and thinking I'm a victim. So I don't talk about it on social media. I think it's really important, your mindset, to overcome and not get stuck in the victim mentality. And the other thing I was going to say, my goal and my husband's goal, his part in this is the medical leadership. So we call ourselves a medically aligned canine mold detection team. We're medically supported, medically founded. So you bring in the medical side, the health side with professional canine, and that's who Mold Dog Nose is. But I look back I'm going to age myself here, but some 33 to 35 years when I first got sick in Florida, when I took that job. Look how long it took. I don't need to say my age now, but it's been decades. It's been several decades for me to figure out and put the pieces together. And then it's just recently, in the last 5 years, that I found out it was mold. My husband wasn't mold literate. He knew a little bit about it, but we didn't know a lot. But when we started figuring that part out, and I went down that path of really digging into that when my mom had sent me an article about some kid in Oregon about Lyme disease and then the mold connection. And I'm like, yeah, those are all my symptoms. So that's how I came back around to the mold, and then started connecting the dots when I did a couple different types of mycotoxin tests. That, wow, it hit me. I'm like, that's what that was in Florida. That's what that was. And I've recently found out that, yeah, it was in the TV station, and there was a big, huge lawsuit that a news anchor won back shortly after I left. So, but yeah, shortening that timeline, helping people. I mean, I jumped on a call just the other day with a girl. I had time. I was driving. It was my sister's women's Bible studies, a girlfriend's daughter, who she said, please pray for my daughter. She's been exposed to mold. And my sister said, oh my gosh, Susan, I just heard about this from my friend. And I said, well, tell her daughter to give me a call. I'm more than happy to talk to her and just help guide her. So, but closing that gap, she hadn't heard about Marcons. I don't know if you know what Marcons is, but do you know what Marcons is? Yeah, it's basically you become in your sinuses a mold making factory because it colonizes in your sinuses. So you can get out of the mold, but it's still growing inside of you, and and it's very difficult to get rid of.
But like a horror movie.
Yeah, it is. Like, it is a horror movie. Yeah. It is pretty horrific. The whole thing.
Yeah, it's with the mold in the body, and it sticks around, and it's growing, and there's biofilms and colonization. People don't even think about that. They're like, it's in my house. Now you're telling me it could be in my body. Like, that's the reality.
Yeah.
And like, there's toxins, the mycotoxins, and it gets in your body, and you really have to remove it. And a lot of the doctors don't understand it. Even the mold doctors, a lot of them aren't necessarily
they're at odds
helping. And I think one of the biggest missing components a doctor should prescribe, get your house assessed, get your indoor environment assessed, get the mold dog in, which I know you had your little prescription pads for the mold dog, but a doctor should be prescribing a HEPA air purifier, and, clean air should be on the prescription, because we'll tell people work out, eat right, but sit in a moldy house while you're doing it. It doesn't really add up.
That's like, I tell people, it's like a boat that has a hole in it and it's raining and you're trying to shovel the water out. I mean, you are supporting your body if you're doing the binders and detoxing infrared and stuff, but you are working against a huge storm and your boat will sink.
Yeah.
If you don't get out.
I was just reading something that said that. And another thing was, like, the building's on fire and you're running around trying to change the smoke detector batteries. Meanwhile, the building is literally burning and you're not addressing that issue. And that's kind of what mold is. Like, it literally is like almost a fire. Like, it spreads like fire. It releases basically smoke that we can't see, but those MVOCs, the microbial volatile organic compounds, the spores, the mycotoxins, like, if you could see it, it's literally like smoke coming off. But I think for me too, like, in mold, like, social media took me somewhere which I never thought I would be. Like, literally getting multiple calls a day. I'm like, I don't even think I can handle all these calls. So if you're trying to figure things out, do social media for sure. But for me, even on the days when I didn't want to do it, like, it's so easy to help people heal. Like, if you understand mold, you can help people heal.
It's pretty basic.
So it's like, I'm gonna help these people, like, even if I don't want to. So I think people really need to find that passion in order to succeed, like, because you have to work on the hard days. So you have to have that passion on the hard days and find something where it's almost easy for you to just be a standout. And Steve, I was really inspired by your law enforcement background, and, like, you obviously put yourself into dangerous situations, and, like, you just love helping people. Like, how do you wake up and be like, I'm going to go be in a crazy cops?
Well, I think, when I speak around the country, I always tell people my why, because if you can't start there, people don't know what your motivation is. And I never have a sales pitch. I'm not selling anything. My why started on September 11, 2001. I was present during that time. I was a young kid in New Jersey, and I got to see a dog work for the first time in my life, a search and rescue dog. And so I was inspired. I was motivated just to see them work. And then what I saw next was something out of a movie. The dog was injured, and the handler had extensive medical background. He cleaned up the dog, and this was like a big gash around the dog's ribs, and he sutured the dog right on the field.
Oh, wow.
And the dog went back to work looking for human bodies. And so that was it for me. That's not only the most meaningful thing I've ever seen, I was dead set. Talk about manifestation. At that moment, I had my first conversation with God, and I asked, please, if I could do something that meaningful and that special, choose me. And here I am. I had an opportunity to this year represent Team USA in the Canine Olympics, which people don't even know is a thing. And
pretty cool.
We did well. I got a gold and a silver medal in that. So like, God has been faithful to me in my career. And that has been the biggest motivator, but that is my why. I saw what real heroes look like in 9/11. I wasn't one of them. I was passing out water, for Christ's sake. That's what I was doing.
Still counts.
Yeah, but I was really impactful as a young kid. That's what real leadership is. And it goes back to why I'm so motivated to lead others, because I saw what that looked like. And I've been blessed to meet a couple presidents because of it over time, doing the things that I do. I got to give back to NYPD and their program and help develop very specialized programs in their canine stuff. So it has been, and it's taken me all over the world. So it's been an incredibly rewarding career. And I feel like I'm just getting started now. Now it's just a new venture, and that passion doesn't stop there. Now I'm bringing it to this industry. And, I mentioned being in Vegas. We got to meet other mold detection companies. And the first thing I said to them was like, I'm here to help you. Just because we're in the same space doesn't mean I'm your enemy. Doesn't mean that you can't trust me. Like, all the sacrifices I'm making was for you just as much as it was for me. Because the more science I could bring to this industry, it helps you become better, which means you're going to help your people in your area. So, shout out to all the teams that sat down, had dinner with us, and now we become friends. And some people that you knew as well, which is really cool. So it's a small world, and there's so much opportunities. And I think if we all try to raise the standard, we're all going to be better because of it.
Yeah, super inspiring, and crazy how you said, the dog was literally ripped apart and then it went back to work. Yeah. It's like the dog is willing to die for this. And like you are willing to die, and these people in 9/11 were willing to die. And I've even met like attorneys who inspired me. Like, they're like, I will die for my clients, like with a stone cold face. And like, they mean it. Like, I love my clients. I'll die for them. And I feel like that's the kind of mentality you need to have a passion to like really help. It's like, I would die for this.
But you can identify when they're being truthful, because some people use it as a way to project themselves as somebody that they want people to understand them to be. You always know when someone's being genuine. When someone's like really genuine about it, there's no hiding it. Like, you're either about this or you're not about this. And so when we're trying to hire people, you're either about this or you're not about it. That's the other thing. So you recognize you're inspired by it. And I don't know if you want to shout whoever that is out that you're thinking about, but like, that's super cool that you're able to recognize like, that person inspired me because either the way they said it or how they did it or their actions. I mean, that's what it's about. It's really about putting your feet to the ground and actually doing it, not just having a sit down and talking about it. Like, you got to move your feet.
Yeah. And shout out to Bob. Bob gets a shout out on almost every episode.
Nice.
But it's interesting how we talked about trust and like how you want someone in 50 states. And like, I built something pretty big with the mold assessment, and I've had a hard time finding the people to trust to expand. So how do you, like, I know you just see the look in their eyes and you're like, I could trust this person, because it's hard for, hiring is one of the most important things in business, but that's like the hardest thing to do, is for someone who's great at their thing to then go and hire 50 people to try and replicate it.
So that's an easy answer, actually, but it's easier than you think it is. I can help make somebody that has the passion. I can make them a good handler. If they're willing to put the time in, I can make them a good handler. I cannot make them a good person. So we hire good people. You're a good person, I can work with you. If you're in it for the right reasons, if you share our belief system that we're here to actually help people, it's going to work out. We're going to take care of you, and we're going to do the right thing. And we're going to be, again, the bar for the industry. And if that sounds right to you, that means you got to work hard, because there's not going to be a lazy handler in our program. It's not a thing. So good people, man. And that sometimes you can have in a conversation through a Zoom call. You can see it. It kind of emotes through that. I like to meet people in person. I got to meet one of our handlers for the first time, Emily. Shout out to Emily in Vegas. I got to meet her husband. I got to meet her kids.
Oh, wow.
I got to really understand who I thought she was. It was everything and more. And so having to have an opportunity to sit down and have dinner with them, it is a motivator in itself. Like, we got this right. We have the right people. And that's really important. Mm-hmm. So if you're thinking about Mold Dog Knows as your company, know that the people coming into your home, they care. They're there for the right reasons. And that's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, there's good in everyone, I think, but not everyone is great at certain things, which you can learn, mm-hmm. and you have to be teachable. Like, if you come in and say, I know it all, like, hire me, this is my salary I demand, and like, you have to be teachable in life, and you have to say, I don't know the answer. Like, even as an attorney, I'm a newer attorney, but it's so important to be like, I don't know the answer. Mm-hmm. Or, hey, our dogs are not perfect at all times. Like, we can't, there's certain expectations that you need to make, I feel, but it's so important to be teachable, and like, you can become good at anything. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're listening to this, and you don't really know where you're headed, you can learn anything with the Chat GPT and the Google and all that.
Yeah.
But I think that comes back to finding the mentor, saying, I need to learn. And like, a mentor is usually better than you at that thing.
Oh, yeah.
But I was saying the other day, like, mentorship is not about how to make billions of dollars. It's about how to carry yourself and be yourself and kind of do that. That's how you succeed, I think, is by being yourself. And then, do the social media for sure these days, and the podcasts mm-hmm. and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I know you were getting into mentorship a little bit yourself lately with like some coaching. Can you talk about that a little? Or?
Oh, yeah. I hired a coach because I need it. This is kind of crazy, but I'd had a word 3 times that I was going to be a leader, and that's what I was being formed into. And I really resisted it for a while. And I finally had gone to this conference and decided, you know what, I need to step into this and I need to learn. So that's why I hired a coach to help me and to push me and to challenge me and to help me look at things differently and think about things differently and how to motivate a team, how to hire people. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing and stepping into it, and it's challenging. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And I think it's so important that even if you're running like a mega awesome company, like, you still need to be teachable. And, it's so important to like get an outside perspective. Like, mm-hmm. you never have to do things on your own. And I don't really think you should, but it's so important. Like I'm calling these other attorneys every day. I'm like, hey, I went to law school, but I still don't know how to like do these cases. Or I'll call mold assessors and be like, hey, I got this tricky case. Like, how do we figure this out? And now I'm even working with mentors and like life coaches. I'm like, how do you mentor and life coach people? Like, how did you make money doing that? So I think it's always important that you are a student, and then eventually you become a teacher too. But even the teachers had teachers, like Plato had Socrates, or maybe the other way around. Yeah. I don't know. But you working in law enforcement, Steve, like, leadership and mentorship and being teachable, like, it's so important. Does that play in kind of with the dogs, and how would you say, what's a good way to lead people?
Is to be a perpetual student, is never to stop learning. The moment that I believe I know everything is the moment everything is going to go really wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can never get comfortable with my level of knowledge. I'm on oral boards for canine handlers who are basically, it's a committee of police officers who are going to interview the next potential canine handlers. And I always get the question, like, what makes a good canine handler? So it surprises people because they think that I'm going to ask for the most athletic person, the guy who has the most drug arrests, and all those things are cool. But it's that self-motivator, that self-starter, that thirst for knowledge, that person who's got thick skin because they're about to embark in a journey that they have no idea how hard it is. And a guy like me probably has a limited time to work with them to get them to point A to point B, which means that I can't waste time. Yeah. That means if I'm on you, first off, you got to know that I love you. You got to know that I'm here for you. That if I'm on you, it's not personal. You can never take what I'm giving you in constructive criticism and take it as something. So that thick skin is part of that. If you don't have it, you're gonna get the wrong idea about that criticism I'm giving you, and you're gonna get emotional. You're gonna get upset, and it's okay to get upset. It means you care. But if it's getting in the way of you learning, then we have a problem. So, how do you become a good leader? I would say don't ever stop being a student and listen to the people that you trust. And have that circle of people who are willing to tell you you're wrong. That's hard to do sometimes. And to Susan's point, she's hired a coach. That means she's got to put her ego aside.
Yeah.
To do that's not an easy thing to do. So to put your ego aside to say, hey, I'm the leader of this company and I'm asking for leadership help. That's a big thing to do. Yeah. So like I'm inspired by that as her partner to say that's exactly who I want to work with. I want somebody who's going to be learning with me. And when we don't know something, to be like, I don't know, we need to figure this out. Yep. And we need to ask for help. Yeah. So who in our circle can we trust to help us?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. Like I've talked to some business consultants, and like it's the little things that you don't even think about because you're so busy being viral and well known. And like they're like, "Do you have a business plan?" And I'm like, "A what?"
I know.
Like we don't even. We're just running, like we don't have a business plan. But it's, you might think, well, how can a coach teach me something? But it's really just getting that other party perspective. I think the more people you talk to, the better. It doesn't have to be a upper level coach that costs X amount of a lot of dollars. It could be literally just someone,
a mentor,
anyone. Yeah. It could be someone that works at a store. Like it could literally be anyone. But I think super important to always be learning, like you said. And if you're going to lead people, you have to learn about those people and what's their whys and what is their family like and why are they here. But super helpful. So I know we're getting like towards the end. But as far as like, I want to leave the audience with something from each of you guys about, like, I feel like there's people listening that they kind of don't feel great at anything and they're not really sure where they're going, and they might even feel like they can't learn anything, or they're just kind of in a hopeless scenario. And I want to leave them with like a little something.
My first thing that comes to mind is slow down, put the phone down, get off social media, fast the social media, and just give I think you intuitively know where you're being led, where you're being called, so you can listen to your heart. So quiet.
Yeah, I like that. Slow down. Because everyone's like, I got to get it right now. But that's definitely not the case. Like you said, I think you feel like you're just starting now. And that's kind of how I feel. Like I'm going to be 30, and I kind of feel like this is just the beginning. Even though, before I was like, I'm wasting so much time. Now I'm like, this is the time. Like today's the day. But that's really good advice. Like the social media, I wish I wasn't so connected to my phone.
Yeah.
But I noticed that like when I wake up, I'm calm. The second I pick it up, I'm like emails, Instagram, TikTok, like it's like, that's when the nervous system starts going crazy.
Looking at work stuff, emails. Oh my goodness. Yes.
And it's hard when you've built a social media empire, but, that's when it's good too, to like get a team, like take some of that pressure off of you. And, what about you, Steve? Any word to the...
Yeah, you mentioned hope. That's a big thing there. So I don't know. I'm going to quote something, but I don't know who the author is of this quote. And it's something like, you can go 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, 3 minutes without air, but not a single second without hope. It's really important that you have hope. So for us, I know where that derives from, our faith. And I think that's really important. So that always makes me nervous when I see someone losing hope, because after that, there's not a lot of places you're going to go that it's going to be positive. So hold on to that hope. There, you know, if you can take a step, you can take a breath, you're going to be okay. You're going to move forward. There's an opportunity. And so many amazing stories come from a place of hopelessness, or that feeling of hopelessness. There is something to be said about hardships and hard times shaping people. Yeah. And it is incredible how much that will motivate. And the fact that I have hardships myself, the fact that I can share that with somebody instantly connects us. So there's a reason why things are not easy in this life. I really believe that. Yeah. And I think so much can be shaped from those hard times. So if you feel like you're in that point of hopelessness, just know you may be the next story, that amazing story, that life-changing person in this world that may be doing great things. And I think that's a good place to be mentally when you're in that place of almost despair.
And, you know, just hearing him say that, there's a lot of that, as you know, in this industry. So no doubt why we're in this industry, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's people, the vision I see is people drowning in a sea, like literally the water is here and they're just like
suffocating
in their own home. It's overwhelming, losing everything, losing their home, their career, their health, some, you know, divorce, some women losing children. I mean, through divorce, and or losing children, literally, family members that are passing away. I mean, it's, so what a place, an opportunity to be able to share and to give people hope. Yeah. Something to hang on to.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very real with people losing family members physically, and the dogs even are affected, and their infertility is like a major thing. Mm-hmm. But like you said, that place of hopelessness is like, that's where everything begins. Like, I've been there, we've all been there, but that's when you don't want to give up, because that's when, like, if you lose hope in one thing, then you find hope in something else. And usually it finds you in an unexpected way. But I kind of want to leave people with one thing that I heard, which was like some Shaolin monk who found social media and is posting all these quotes. But he said basically, life is in one day. Like, life is today. It's not yesterday or tomorrow. Like, today is literally your life. When you go to sleep at night, you're fortunate to wake up in the morning. Yeah. But tomorrow is not a real thing, really. Yesterday is basically no longer a real thing. Like, your life is today. So use today, like, even if it's 5 minutes before bed, write down the manifestation part. Like, write down something that you want to do, or that you're hopeful for, or that you love to do, or that you want to learn about. Do something and, like, use today. Don't be like, okay, this was a really good podcast, I'm going to do it tomorrow. Like, do something right now, do it today. Because to me, tomorrow's just a theory. And yesterday, I mean, we're having a hard time proving that yesterday even happened. Yeah. But today is your life, and live your life, enjoy your day. And I think that's a good place to start.
Carpe diem.
Yes. Seize the day. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Susan and Steve. Mold Dog knows. Check them out, guys. Some big things coming. Nonprofits, fundraising, the whole 9 yards. Yep. But thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your interest in having us on.
My pleasure.
Man. Appreciate it.